Hey, Money Crew. Welcome to the Locums Lounge. Are you a physician who is feeling burned out? Are you tired of working endless hours without having the opportunity to reboot and recharge? Do you wish you could negotiate more money and work on your own terms? Are you interested or kind of heard of locum tenens work but aren't quite sure where to get started? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then let me be the first to tell you that this podcast is just for you. I am your host, Dr. Mimi, board certified emergency medicine physician, locum tenens expert, and full-time locums doc. I am also your take back coach. This podcast will inspire you to take back your career and practice medicine on your own terms. I will help you to successfully develop the strategies that will help you break free from the mindset that you work for your job and instead take back your career and let your job work for you. You can be happy while practicing medicine. You can avoid burnout, and yes, you absolutely can make more money. All right, well, let's get into it. Hi, I'm Dr. Jamila Goldsmith, host of the Locums Lounge podcast, and we are coming to you from Las Vegas at the American College of Emergency Physicians Scientific Assembly. And I have here with me Dr. Temi, who I've been trying to get together with to do this joint episode, and I've finally been able to pin her down in Las Vegas.
In Vegas.
Okay?
It's been a journey, huh?
It has been a journey. I met Dr. Temi through coaching, and now we are both coaches with clients.
Yes.
And I just want Dr. Temi to share with us, tell me about Money Mindset MD. How did that come about? What was the inspiration?
Yeah, so the Money Mindset MD, it's my platform, and basically my platform came out of a story of burnout, right? And so what happened was I graduated from, residency. I did the traditional, I'm going to go into the community and work and just work. Now, what happened was I was inundated with $500,000 of student loans.
Those loans don't play.
Those loans don't play, okay? And so my approach at that time was, okay, I'm going to work so hard to pay all this debt down. That was what my thought process was because, back at that time, so I graduated in 2016. So back in that time, there was still that whole discussion about whether or not we're going to get student loan forgiveness through the government.
Right.
And so a lot of the financial gurus and blogs that we all kind of used to look up to, they basically said, the best thing for you to do is you don't know what the government's going to do. So the best thing for you is just refinance your loans at a lower interest rate. And my student loans at that time were about anywhere from 6 to 8 point something percent. So I was like, if I continue paying this at that rate, I ain't never going to get out these loans. I'm just going to keep on paying that down. So I ended up refinancing it out of the government loans into the private loans. And then so I kept working really hard, but I never accounted for the fact that I could potentially burn out. And that's what happened 5 years into my career. I don't know what happened. I just got to the point where I was like, I'm working so hard, right? There was a changing landscape with medicine, right? Private equity was coming in and changing things because the group that I worked for at the time was private. It was with a private physician group, okay? Right. And all of a sudden, I think about 4 or 5 years into the contract, they sold over to
which your story sounds so familiar to my own story. Not a little bit different because I started out doing locums, but the financial part of what do we do with this large amount of debt that we're coming from our residencies with, and they're expecting that money a month later after graduation. They want to get that first payment.
They want to get that first payment, right? So, and then think about it too. When you're paying those loans off, they're in a shorter amount of time. So it's not like a 30-year mortgage where you're okay, at least able to spread out those payments. I was trying to do it in a quick time frame. So I was like, okay, I'll do it in 7 years. So my monthly payments were basically a mortgage, right? So I had a mortgage I had to pay. I also had the student loan basically mortgage that I had to pay. And then of course, when I first got out, I didn't have kids. But then now you have the added expense of having kids, all the other expenses that come along with just being a grown adult,
adulting,
you know, just
right,
adulting. I mean,
adulting.
you know, just being an adult. I mean, nobody told us. They should have told us. But, you know, so when you account for all of that, in addition to the burnout, not only that, the pandemic hit, right?
Absolutely.
The pandemic hit, people were being furloughed. Like, so imagine you are a physician and you think that, like, growing up, they told us, like, become a physician.
It's job stability.
It's job stability. And all of a sudden we're hit with the pandemic, and actually physicians were losing their jobs.
Absolutely.
Okay, they were being furloughed. Luckily, our group did not furlough us, but they did change our RVU structure and basically said for 6 months, they're not going to be able to pay us.
So basically what you're saying is that you were suddenly put in a situation where you were being paid less, but the debt wasn't changing.
Nothing changed.
The debt wasn't changing.
Nothing changed.
The expectation for you was the same.
My debt service was still the same, right? And it wasn't like they were giving any sort of like, okay, well, you're a frontline worker, so here's some sort of relief. No, everyone was like giving us our little clap, and, you know, oh, we love you, healthcare workers, but they weren't also looking at like what the whole picture looked like in terms of like balancing your work life and, you know, your finances and all of the things that come along with being a physician. Not only that, we have a very high tax burden as well, right? We're taxed at the 35% tax bracket. So when you add all of those things and you're not necessarily like in tune with like maybe having a tax strategy, because there's no financial education.
Yeah, we don't learn that.
We don't learn that.
We don't learn the business. In general, you're not taught the business of medicine.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I always talk about on Locums Lounge is where we're not taught about entrepreneurship in medicine at all. There's no one telling you how to start your own practice.
Yeah.
The expectation is that you're going to go work for someone else, you're going to go work for an academic center, or you're going to sign on a contract with another big private group.
Yeah.
And so what happened to private practice? What happened to independence in medicine? It's like a thing of the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why I get excited about locums, because in a way, there is a way that you can have that independence through locums. So tell me, how did you start? How did you get started with locums? What was the push?
Yeah. So basically, you know, with everything happening, with the pandemic hitting, and one day I got an RVU check, literally $500. Okay. God. And usually,
so what is it typically?
Typically, it's anywhere from a 4 to 5 figure range.
Oh my gosh!
And one of my checks literally was $500, and I was like, okay,
that would have been so heartbreaking.
I was like, I think a zero is missing. You know, I had to call the payroll or, you know, the HR people and feel like, you know, something's wrong. Like there must be a mistake here.
There's gotta be a mistake.
Something happened, and they were like, oh no, that's what you got. That's what you generated. And I was like, there's no way that I generated that. And so basically, it got to that point. And then I was burnt out, right? I was doing all of the things, right? Being a physician, and then I'm a physician mom. So there's an added layer of what we have to do with, especially being in medicine as a woman.
Absolutely.
Right, so you have that, and then the second shift when you get home. And when you add all that together, I just completely burnt out, right? And I probably was burnt out for 2 years, but it didn't truly manifest itself until I started having physical symptoms of palpitations, exhaustion, brain fog. I felt like I didn't want to be there anymore. And I was like, where's my passion for this thing that I chased my entire life since I was 7 years old? You know? And so when it got to that point where it was sink or swim, and I was like, girl, you're not going to go down like this. You know, so I started to recognize, like, well, it was actually too late, but I recognized the physical symptoms that I was having. And I was like, this is not normal.
This is not life.
This is not life.
And that is such a powerful story, because I think just talking to other moms in particular who are trying to balance it all with being a physician, taking care of the responsibilities at home, and then trying to meet the expectations of the workplace, it becomes so much. And when you think about the fact that our stress level was already high,
it's already high.
For us to get to that added stress level where it starts to put physical symptoms on our, know that
it's
you are pretty much headed downhill. And if you don't change the direction, like, I said, you're going to be in an early grave.
You're going to be in an early grave, you know? And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to an early grave, okay? I'm like still in my you know, I was like, my life doesn't have to go this way. And so I had no backup plan, really. I mean, I started talking with my CPA and my financial advisor about what it would look like if I started cutting back at work. You know, so it's like, okay, what would my income look like? How could I plan for this? But by that point, I think I had already made the decision, like in 90 days, I was out. I was out. And so April of that year, I put in my notice that I was going to be leaving my consistent, steady job that I loved. I loved the people, right? And I just told them, I was like, I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with you guys. I just have to choose myself first. And the way that I'm practicing and the way that I'm showing up at work is not the way that I really show up when I come to do things in my life. And so I basically told them July 1 of 2022 that I was not going to be working with them full time. And so in that process, I started negotiating with different recruiters throughout the Houston area. I didn't quite jump into locums fully, but I was like, okay, let me see what it's like to work with different hospitals. Let me get my feet wet. At least I can work with different hospital systems and I can figure out a schedule that way. I literally had no backup plan. I would just go month by month. If they needed me to cover shifts, I would just pick the shifts up. And I was like, this is much better.
So tell me what mindset changes. For one, tell me a little bit about how locums change how you practice medicine and how you take care of yourself. And tell me what mindset shifts you had to make in order to be comfortable in this space.
So one, there's always that consistency of, you're always worried about the consistency of a paycheck, right? And so I had to have that identity and know that I'm always going to be in demand and realize that I'm always going to be in demand. I'm highly skilled. I'm highly trained. I've been working for at least 5 to 6 years outside of residency. But I am board certified. So I had that identity that like I bring value, right? So it's not there. No one's doing me a favor, right? I am here. You can't run an ER without an ER physician.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful. And when you come from a place of like, I am bringing value to the table, it makes it easier to negotiate what you are worth. Yes. Absolutely.
And so I had to have that mindset shift. Like, it wasn't like I was begging for work. It was like, how are we going to partner here to cover these shifts, right? How am I going to make your life easier?
I'm providing you a service.
And when I work with my clients, a lot of them have that scarcity mindset where they're not sure if there's going to be another shift available. So they get really scared. So that they get stuck on having a consistent schedule.
Because that's what we learned is normal.
That's what we learned is normal.
That's what we're learning to be comfortable with. Like, we want someone to like hand it down to us and say, it's a difference between being spoon-fed something versus going out and killing your own.
And killing your own, exactly.
And so something else you said is really powerful about walking into those rooms from a place of scarcity. I always say, when you do that, that is how you get into trouble with staying in a place that is not right. Because you can get, I won't say locums is all rosy. You can get into situations that you probably don't need to be in. But if you have that mindset that, number one, I'm bringing value to this place, and if something is not meeting my expectations, I'm comfortable walking away and I will find something else, versus scarcity and thinking, what am I going to do if I leave this place? That's how you get into trouble.
That's how you get into trouble.
That's how you get into trouble.
Big time. And I think, when I first even started like exploring this, I don't know where it came from for me, but I just always just had that identity that there's always going to be another job. There is. That's what I just felt.
It's so helpful.
I didn't have the evidence of that, but I was just like, there's always going to be work.
There's always going to be something.
So just having that alone is another negotiating tool, because you're like, okay, well, like you said, if this doesn't align with my values and the way that I practice medicine and how I work, I'm going to walk away.
Yes, let me tell you, Dr. Temi is dropping gems. She is dropping gems. And how long have you been doing locums now?
2 years.
2 years. And she is dropping powerful gems. And she's been able to sustain herself in this industry for 2 years. I mean, that's really awesome. Because people always wonder how long they can do this, and I say you can find longevity in this space. So I just want to thank you for taking the time out to spend and talk with me. We have to do this again.
We have to
and
do it again.
Get into
the details. Yes.
We are headed to the locum tenens section meeting where we're going to talk more about what we do as locums doctors and try to inspire some other people and empower them to know that this is something that's possible if they're looking for something different. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Thank you for having me. This has been amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Locums Lounge with Dr. Mimi. I hope that you leave feeling inspired to at least consider how locums can change your lifestyle as you practice medicine. Be sure to check out my website at thelocumslounge.com and follow us on Instagram at The Locums Lounge. Look forward to hearing from you next week, and thank you for tuning in. Until next time, have a great week.